This week we read a double Parsha. We read Achrei and Kedoshim. I'm going to start with Kedoshim. So Kedoshim means holiness. How do we achieve holiness? So God says, I created the world. I am the world. You exist within the oneness of God. And to truly live, which we are enjoined to do, to live means to connect to God. How do we do that? Through the Mitzvahs. God gave us a Torah, a guidebook for how to live, to give us the connectors, to give us ways, to teach us how to be in this world, how to be godlike, to do that which God does, visit the sick, bury the dead, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, etc. So to be godlike, to be holy is to be like God, to imitate God. And through the mitzvahs. Mitzvah means to connect. So God is giving us the mitzvahs to help us connect to the source of everything, to the divine. And by doing so, we flood the world with divine energy. We bring light into the world, and we create ourselves into holy beings, because God says, be holy because I am holy. We're given mitzvahs in this week's Torah portion, many of them, not all of them, many of them. We're told not to eat blood. We're told not to put tattoos on our body. We're told not to practice sorcery and divinity, to be honest in business, to respect the elderly, to love our fellow as ourselves, and so on. There are many, many mitzvahs in this Torah portion that teach us how to connect ourselves to God. God has created a world with spiritual laws as well as the laws of nature. We may be well familiar with the laws of nature, we might not be so familiar with the laws, the spiritual laws. So Achrei, after the death of Nadav and Avihu, who had given the Parsha with many of the mitzvahs that help us to become holy because God is holy, how to live because that's why we're here to live. What did Nadav and Avihu do? They went into the Holy of Holies, the holiest place, on the holiest of days, on Yom Kippur, in a way that was not commanded. They took an offering into that space on that day, which was not commanded, that didn't follow the spiritual laws that God had laid down. And their desire, perhaps say one of our commentators, the Or HaChaim, their desire to connect to God took them into that space on that day, such that their soul had an experience of God. And we're taught, when Moses goes up into the heavens and talks to God, God says, you can't know me and live. Nadav and Avihu went into that place on that day, and they had an experience of God that was not sustainable with living. Their souls left their bodies. Their soul went up into the higher realms, and they lost their lives. We are enjoined to live, to not lose our lives, to not look for those experiences that take us out of the world, but to look for experiences that connect us to God according to the spiritual laws that God has laid down. So my blessing is that God should please bless us with the knowledge, with the clarity, and with the ability to connect to God in the prescribed way, thereby bringing more holiness into the world and thereby making us into more holy beings.